Okay. All right. Recording to the cloud. Woohoo! Happy Monday. We are episode 51 of the Georgie and Patty Show. I am Georgie.
And I'm Patty.
And today we are super excited. Oh yeah, your spirit fingers. Super excited because it's an interview edition. But today we have a very special, exciting, inspiring human. Iman Gatti. Am I saying your last name right? I realized this morning, I'm like, I don't know if I'm saying your last name right. So excellent. So excited to have you here with us today, and share and talk about all the amazingness that you do. So I'm going to share your bio here real quickly with people. And then we always do a quote of the day. And so Iman sent me one of her favorite quotes. So we'll start with that too. But a little bit about her is she is the author of Cracked Open, Never Broken. And I want to talk about your book too as we get in this. And she's an empowerment coach, a transformational speaker, and certified grief recovery specialist. So through her work, she helps people overcome self-limiting beliefs, heal, which I love this part too, heal our past wounds and really step fully into your limitless potential. And this is so great. You know, I always think about the synchronicity of how things show up in life. And just this morning, and the weekend too, but this morning really looking at kind of our past wounds and how they show up in our life. So I want to definitely talk about that in our show today. And then our quote of the day is, "And the time came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom." And that is by, and I'm not sure if I'm saying this right either, is it Anais Nin?
Yeah,
Anais Nin. Such a great quote.
Yeah, that one's really powerful for me. That's like the one quote that I kept reading over and over and over again before I started my first business. In my late 20s. So that was the one that was like, oh, I gotta do it. I gotta jump out. It's getting too painful to hold all these dreams in.
Such a good space. So maybe why don't we start with then what talk about your journey to becoming an entrepreneur.
Oh my goodness. So I think like, you know, it was my dream as a little girl to be working for myself and to have my own company. I always wanted to. I think I'm just a very autonomous person, so I always wanted to have my own thing, which you all understand, right? So when I was a little girl, I just really, I was like, I got to do it my own way. I got to be able to, I'm also, a little bit bossy, A-type personality, so I wanted to work for myself. So when I was 12, I lived with the man who we adopted each other. I call him my dad, and he owned this motel, and so I would go there for the summer and I would work with him working at this motel when I was 12 years old. And really it was just like throwing the laundry in from the washer to the dryer. And then one day a man, like one of the guests, he asked to have his laundry laundered, right? So I went to deliver it to him as a clean in a bag, and he gave me $1. And I thought, oh my God, like this is amazing. I just made $1 doing nothing. I was doing this yesterday and I didn't get any money. So I started asking people, like I would ask these men who were there working on like the rigs, the oil rigs and things. And so they were filthy. And so I would knock on the doors and be like, hi, and it's like a small town. So, it wasn't like dangerous feeling or anything. And my dad was right there. And so I all of a sudden had these like customers I was doing their laundry, washing their jeans, their shirts and stuff. And then they would give me $1 or $2 or whatever. They felt like it was cute, So that summer I was like, I work for myself. And my dad said to me when I came back to his place with my like $5 that day or whatever. And he's like, you're an entrepreneur. And I remember him saying that to me. And I thought, oh my God, like I have wanted this forever, right? I'm 12 and my dream came true. And so obviously it took a lot longer than that to, fully have my own company and everything. But I remember in my 20s, it was still my dream. Like, listen, girl, if you can make money folding socks, you can do something with purpose and magic and miracles. So.
Isn't it so amazing too, though, how those first statements we get when we're younger, how they impact us so much? And like literally him saying, well, you're an entrepreneur. You're like, well, yes, I am.
Yeah. It's the permission that we all seek all the time, right?
totally. So what was your first business when you were in your 20s?
So, okay, so I wanted to have my own business. So I'm working for other people throughout my 20s. I went to school, I became a travel agent, then I became an executive assistant. And so I'm doing all that and I'm thinking, I still have this calling, this more of a screaming, right? In my heart that is like, and so I thought to myself, people keep saying you gotta, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. So I'm like, what the heck? Like, what do I love? And I'm walking around my house at the time and I walk by my shoe room. Now I'm the typical shoe gal, but I think it's untypical because I had hundreds of pairs of shoes. Like, so I had this room with all my different kinds of shoes and my chaise lounge and a huge mirror. And I'm walking through my house and I'm like, the only thing I love is shoes, like with a passion. Like that's my passion. And so I'm like, why don't you import shoes from around the world and sell them? You know, I kept getting invited to these makeup parties and Tupperware parties and things like that. And I thought, what if I went to people's homes with all my shoes and you had a party and you invited all your girlfriends over and had the appies and the wine and the hangout, but you could also buy shoes. And so it sounded ridiculous, but just ridiculous enough to be cool, you know?
Yeah.
So I did that. So I went to Vegas. There's like a shoe conference, of course. Vegas has every conference in the world. And so I became part of the like World Shoe Association, and I thought these are my people. And I started importing shoes from all over the place, and it was like so fun. You get to pick them, and it was just a little girl dream come true. And so yeah, I started having shoe parties and traveling to people's homes, and it was really fun and really successful. People like it sounded so ridiculous, but I was like, if you are all buying Tupperware, you are gonna buy shoes, the thing that you always need on your feet. So it was very, very fun. And I did that for a handful of years.
That is so cool. What I really love about that too is recognizing the opportunity. Like there's a couple things. Oh, someone says, what do you love? Well, I love shoes. Oh, let's see. People are having Tupperware parties. Why not shoe parties? And then trying it. Like we talk a lot about experimenting. Just see what happens.
Right.
You know, so having basically the courage to actually try it and see if it would work.
Yeah.
You know, like.
And it was a big risk. And that's the quote. So I kept reading this quote because it took me, by the time I had the idea, it took me another 2 years to execute it because I was just afraid. And so anyone who's listening, who's like got the, you know, the idea, but not the courage, I sat on that idea for 2 years because I would share it once in a while with friends or family and they would tell me it was ridiculous. Like who's going to go to a party with shoes? That doesn't even, you know? And I thought I would go to that party. I'm a girl who dedicates one whole room in her house to her shoes. Like this is the kind of people that I need. If there's one of me that I know, there's millions of me, right?
Yeah. So how'd you get the courage?
So I decided, like, I just felt sick to my stomach of betraying myself and holding on to this secret, right? Like the secret thing that I wanted to do. Plus I was working for a company that I just didn't like it. Like I would go to work and it was like, I could hear my soul dying. Like I could just like this weird whistling sound, you know, it was like, this is the worst thing ever. I'm sitting in a cubicle and I say the same things every day and it started to feel like Groundhog Day and it's just the same every day and people are ingenuine and it's just like, is this really why I was born? And that's what I kept thinking. I was like, man, is this why you were born? So that you could complain and go to work on Monday and say, oh, it's Monday. And then, how was your weekend? And the same thing over and over. And I thought, why are you so chicken shit? Why don't you just jump?
Yeah.
Like, so what? You fail. So what?
What's the worst that can happen?
I come from a very tumultuous, very, scary life that is filled with failings. So you're good at it. So you know how to get back up. That's why I kept telling myself, I was like, you are like the queen of falling down. So why don't you be the queen of rising and just get the hell back up?
That's awesome. Like really awesome. And then what led you into the work that you're doing now?
So I'm having these shoe parties and I'm having a great old time and I'm hanging out with women all the time. And we all chit chat, right? And these women become people who are telling me all about themselves. Like I'm selling shoes, but I'm giving like counseling sessions, you know, and I'm loving them up. And I sat there one day and I was like buzzing with women. It's crazy in the music and they're having a great time and the shoes are flying. And I thought, I'm not making a difference to them. Like they're just going to buy a pair of shoes and that's it. Like they didn't get to experience my gift. And my gift is not to hawk shoes. I feel like my gift has always been to empower people and to teach them to get back up. So it was not enough that I knew how to get back up. I really wanted to show other people what kind of, like if I was 100 and I'm laying there on my deathbed, and am I going to be like, hey girl, you are the best shoe salesman on the planet? Is that going to feel as good as, hey girl, you helped all those women rise up. You helped all those women change their lives. You helped all those women heal from their trauma. You helped them recover from grief. You showed them, because you always fall down, but you always get back up, and you showed them how to do that. Would that be more impactful? And I thought, yeah, shoes is probably easier. But I don't ever really take the easy way. So I started to feel a little unfulfilled once I discovered that piece was missing for me. And yeah, and I'm kind of a all in kind of a gal. So I one day just said, no, I'm going to sell all my shoes and I want to be a coach. I want to write my book. I want to share my truth, because I was hearing everyone's stories and I was still too scared to share what really happened to me.
Yeah. And I think, and this is what I love about you, because I remember we were talking about your book. Mm-hmm. And you were writing your book, and I can remember people saying to you, your book's too long.
Yeah, remember?
No one's going to read a book that long.
Yeah, no one's going to read that. And I think everyone needs to hear this. Whenever you have an idea, people are always going to poo-poo it. Like and they don't mean it from a bad place. Nobody, they mean it from their own limitation. But when you're so insecure, like I was, when you have a dream, you get insecure that it's not going to work. And I thought, geez, no one's going to read. Like, what a crappy thing to tell someone when they're writing the book. And so I kept having faith. I was like, I don't need you to read it. I needed to write it.
Yeah.
No one reads it well, then, oh well, because I got to write a book and I got to publish a book. And that's my goal, not to how many people are going to read it. You can't start a business like guaranteeing sales. You don't know, nobody knows. You don't know anyone's going to buy your stuff.
Exactly.
Right? So you can't get that guarantee. And I think that's the entrepreneur way, is that you have to always jump off the edge. Always. You just keep jumping, and you could die. You could lose all of your money and no one loves you and they all throw food at you and hate you. Like that could happen, but it's so dramatic. Like that's so dramatic. When do you see that happening, right?
Exactly.
More often than not, you win.
So it's so true. And we talk a lot about really focusing on the things that you can control.
Yeah.
You can control writing the book.
Yeah.
What happens after that?
That's none of my business.
Exactly.
Okay. I mean, you can try to, marketing, of course, you do things, you pour your heart.
Yeah.
Sure. But like you said, you control every aspect you can control. And then we move on. And that's what coaching is about. Teaching people how to control everything they control. You can't control how your mom talks to you. You can't control but you can have boundaries. You cannot engage. You can control lots of stuff that you haven't taken ownership of just yet. So just take ownership of everything you can. And it's very empowering for people when they realize, okay, I control these 10 things that would make a huge difference to me, and stop focusing on the 8 things you can't.
Exactly. And we often want to focus on the 8 things we can't.
Yeah. And they're the most frustrating things. And you just sit there spinning your wheels.
Exactly. Yeah. So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about what your book's about?
Sure. So it's quite an intense book. It's a memoir, and it's called Cracked Open, Never Broken. It's on Amazon, and it is the tale of my life from birth to 16, in which time, I'm a first generation Canadian. My family came from North Africa. Pretty average life of immigrants working to make a good life for their family. And, at the age of 6, my father murders my mother. And as I witness, he stabbed her to death. And so from then on, I'm orphaned, my brothers and I, and we it tells a tale of all the different places I had to stay and all the weirdness that comes with that and the horror and trauma, and going from that place to more abusive places as time wore on, and just being subject to quite a horrible childhood, really. Like, I mean, I look back, that's my story, and I look back and I think I made the most of it, but I certainly wouldn't wish it on anyone in there, you know. And there are certainly worse ones and better ones, but in my case, I just feel like it was really hard to be alive. It was really hard. So I, you know, had to live with undiagnosed CPTSD and just living with alcoholics and drug addicts and abusers and people that did not take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
And so my dad, who I call my dad, Ron, I met him when I was like when my mom passed away, and then he always stayed in my life, and he was the one shining light that was always so loving and kind and just like consistently generous and open, and never asked for anything of me. He just loved me unconditionally. He was the only really example of that I had. And so I finally got to live with him when I was 15 and go to high school living with him. And so he was the one who always encouraged me to do everything, you know, from when I was a kid. And I got to spend summers and weekends with him, thank goodness, because he was just that one beacon that was always like, girl, there's other things out there. This isn't it. This isn't it for you. You can change this.
Isn't it amazing how, you know, I think sometimes we think, oh, am I really making a difference? And we want to look at, I need to do this on such a grand scale. And then I think about him, that one person made such a huge impact in your life, even from, you know, that's the statements of you're an entrepreneur and look where you are now, really be able, you know, to take the gift that you have and then be able to, like you say, help other women rise up and really kind of dig into their own stuff and really empower them to step into who they can be and use that to make a difference in the world. Like, I think we often sometimes forget that we can be that beacon of light for someone else. And if it's one person, look at the number of lives you are impacting. So that ripple effect from what he did for you is so big.
Yeah, like changed the course of my life.
Huge.
Thousands of other people.
Yeah, like it's so incredible to me. And sometimes I think we forget to just sort of step back into that and go, okay, we just see the glitzy big names. Oh, I want to be, you know, on stages of hundreds of thousands of people, or I'm not making a difference. And we have that opportunity every single day with the people that are in our immediate circles.
Totally.
You know,
you have to be courageous first. This is the thing about life. If I'm too afraid to try, there are millions, billions of other people that are too afraid to try. Like, the greatness about humbling yourself and telling yourself that you're not special in that way, like you're one of many, right? You're one of billions. It sometimes gives you courage. It's not meant to be a negative thing. To me, it's courage. Like, it gives me courage. I'm like, you know what, girl, like you are just like everybody else. So if you have an idea, great. Everyone has ideas, but not everybody else executes them. And that's the part where you get to be special and where you get to be unique, right? Use your gumption to do something. Use that grit and that discipline to do the things no one else, very few people are willing to do. Very few people are willing to throw. I would work full time in finance. And then at night, I would literally come home from work, change my clothes, like eat something, like shoveling. I don't even think I ever sat down eating. My apartment was a warehouse. Like, I wasn't even allowed to have this business in my apartment, my condo building, right? It was like, I would the truck would deliver, he would text me or would call and be like, hey, we're on our way. I'm like, okay. I'd run down to the basement. This giant truck with pallets of shoes, guys, would come and drop them off. I would have my little wee trolley that I bought at Canadian Tire or whatever. And I would one trip at a time take up hordes, thousands of pairs of shoes. And my neighbors, it was kind of nice, right? Because you'd see these, the cute guys down the hall or people that in your building, they'd be like, do you need help? And I'm like, yeah, thank you so much. Yes, totally. Let me go get my other dolly. And people were my community's helping me up. And my apartment is just floor to ceiling shoes. There was a small chair in the corner. You can't sit in this place. It is just shoes. And I was willing to give everything up. I spent every last penny that I had saved for this business. Like that was it. It was like, you could literally make me homeless right now if this doesn't work. And that's the part not everyone's willing to do.
Exactly.
Like the shit your pants part, right?
Exactly.
But I know that it takes that kind of bravery and risk to get the prize.
Yeah, that's sort of, it's that all inness.
Yeah.
And really, I think a lot of it comes down to that belief in yourself, and that you're willing to go all in for yourself. And like you say, it could fail.
Totally.
That's an option.
Most people fail. Yeah.
And you'll just get back up.
Yeah.
You'll find something else. You'll keep moving.
Fail
You'll
forward.
learn. You'll have learned something.
Yeah.
Right?
Like,
that you'll be able to move into something, the next thing.
and I might not have been able to be a life coach and a writer if I hadn't done that job.
Exactly. Oh, I totally believe that we bring all of those things forward, you know, and I'm a firm believer that we do know what our purpose is. Like, I believe we have that innate sense. The challenge is finding the words to it. And that's part of the process and the journey of being able to, oh, I think this is it. Oh, this is a piece of it. Like, you're doing the shoe things and you're like, yeah, but there's something else here, you know? And it's like, oh, maybe it's this. And then you look back at your life and you're like, all of these things have allowed me to be where I am right now and to be so great at it.
And trusting yourself in those moments of like, this doesn't feel right, or I feel close, but not quite. And for victims of violence and people that grew up in extreme trauma, like myself, we don't trust our bodies. We don't have that. It's a very long road to healing that place that I didn't realize how important it was to heal those spaces within me so that I could come from a very healthy place, so that I could trust my intuition, so that I could understand that I know myself better than anyone else. And I think what happens is when you've been violated, a lot and to the extreme, you stop trusting yourself because it's so easy for other people to take things from you. So you start to think, well, I mustn't be very good, and I mustn't be very strong. And it's quite the opposite, is that most people couldn't endure the kind of pain that you have endured. And that's why it's such an empowering story for other people, you know, when they read my book and they're like, wow, how on earth would you survive that? Well, I had to. And what I love teaching other people and my clients is the depth of strength that you haven't accessed because you simply did not have to. Right? You didn't have to learn how to solve problems because you didn't have as many or the same kind. Now I had a slew of problems and I got through them all, and I learned not well all the time, right? Like some of them were very painful lessons, right? And they had a lot of consequences. But then I learned something from them, and you can learn how not to be, and it'll still be just as valuable as learning how to be.
Totally. I love what you said too, that it's a process, because I think oftentimes, especially for people that have done a lot of, let's say a lot of personal development work, and I'm going to call it more surface level personal development work.
Sure.
So you've been to the courses, you've read the books, you've got some tools, and then something will happen that I think triggers old wounds that we have that we weren't necessarily aware of. And then we have the expectation that I'm going to be through this really quickly. Right? Like, this is going to take me a week, maybe, and I'm going to be good.
Write some affirmations.
Write some affirmation.
Gratitude. Yeah, it's
going to be perfect. And I'll be good to go.
Right.
You know, so I love that you say, you know, this can be a process. We're not healed in 3 weeks.
No. Or ever.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
I healed mostly, doing great. I mostly feel awesome most of the time, right? But I'm a human. I still have like 80% of the time, great, right? 20% of the time, still hot mess, like everyone else. And it's not ever an arrival place. You're not arriving anywhere. When you arrive, you die. That's it. It's gone. Yes. Don't be in such a rush to get wherever the hell you think arriving is, right?
It's so true.
Here's my, I think it's funny because when you look at people who are fighters, like people who are actual like martial artists or, gladiators or people in the military, you think of these heroes, right? Like wow, these people are heroic. And you hear someone say, I came back from the war and I survived. And we think, oh my God, you're amazing. Like, that is incredible. I can't imagine what that's like. And you survived, even if you're missing limbs or you're emotionally scarred or, right, you have PTSD, whatever it is. We think you're phenomenal. Now, you take the same person and they recovered from emotional abuse, or they witnessed murders, or they, you know, whatever, the trauma that they endured. I work with all these women overcoming domestic violence as like one of my heart-centered purpose groups that I have. And they don't think of themselves as warriors. And I'm trying to tell them, like, are you kidding me? You came back from the war that you had to live, and you survived. And yes, you're scarred, and some of you are missing things, but you're phenomenal. Like, you made it, right? And so I try to use that example to people. Like, when fighters fight, and even if they lose, we're proud of them. Even if they're missing parts, we're proud of them. They are heroic. They survived that arena. And you survived your arena, and you are covered in scars. And those are glorious reminders of how powerful you are. And it's
so true.
You need to stop looking down and feeling pity for people. Yes, empathize. Oh my God, that's awful. We don't want bad things to happen to people. But my God, you're here. So let's heal those things as required and then move forward.
I think you are such a great example of that. Like, I can remember when I first met you, like, we were doing the workshop together, and I'm like, I need to know her. You, like, you are just full on, like, energy and light and honest and just, like, pure awesomeness.
You
know, I was like, okay, this is what I'm talking about.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a really fun workshop. And, you know, that took courage too. And like, to do these things that require so much of you. And I think that's the part that I knew I had to do, is like, Iman, you have to tell everyone what happened to you, even though it's scary. Like, I wrote a book. People think, wow, you must be really, like, that's really good. It must have been easy for you. You must be proud of your story. And I'm like, oh my God, no, it's like the book of shame. Like, this is the book of, like, all the shameful things that happened to me. And I felt like dying writing it, and I, like, wanted to throw up several times, and I cried. If you could see the tears on the pages, you would see, like, how excruciating it was to do that. But I knew the deeper that I exposed myself with vulnerability, the deeper I could reach other people. And that's my goal. My goal is to move out of the way and be humble and stop worrying about what I look like, if anyone's going to like me. Because the truth is, I only need a certain audience to like me. I don't really need anyone else. Like, if one woman hears my voice, which I've now heard several dozens of times, saying that this changed them, this helped them not go back to an abusive relationship, this helped them get their shit together and get their life in order, this helped them start their business, this helped them do the thing, leave the guy or the gal, or do the thing that's always calling to them, then I know those are the people that I'm talking to.
Yeah. And how did you get there?
So much work, right? So much work, constantly. I mean, I went to so much therapy. I have to say that I'm a huge fan of therapy, talk therapy, EMDR. I was like a lab rat. I would say, like, whatever it is, try it on me, try it on me, try it on me. Because I got to a place, and here's what I want people to hear, that if you don't come from like a healthy, happy family where you were told you were phenomenal your whole life, if you don't have that, okay? If you had any kind of abuse or any kind of low self-esteem, or you didn't like the way you looked in the mirror, or any of this stuff, let me tell you that the world isn't always made for people like that. And you hear these cliches of bypassing where people say, we can all have a dream, we can all do it, it's available to everyone, you all have the same 24 hours in a day. It's so annoying. It doesn't include people who are poor, born into poverty. It doesn't include those people. It doesn't include people of color. It doesn't include Black people. It doesn't include people with disabilities. It doesn't include those people. So, like, the people who are saying that sometimes don't understand that it's a lot harder for someone who had nothing and is starting at a negative place than you, who grew up telling your family told you you're so beautiful. Like, you know, I married my husband. He's a very healthy person, very healthy. All his life, his family is the most beautiful family in the world. And they told him he was special and that he should follow his dreams. And that man has had one career of being a professional dancer. He's traveled the world with it. He's very talented, and he was supported in that. I didn't have that. I couldn't be a fucking dancer when I was like 8 years old. That wasn't on my list of shit to do. Like, Sorry,
Yeah.
trying not to get raped and beaten by crackheads. Like, that's on my list. Trying to get a sandwich because I'm starving, haven't eaten for 2 days. Like, that's, so we're not coming from the same place. When we turn 18, he's not in the same space as me. I'm not at the party, right? And so I knew that I had to do something about that. And I had to, once again, humble myself and say, you're messed up. Like, you're not normal. You're not healthy. You don't have the same tools as everyone else. And you're trying to play the same game. Now, I'm fiery. I know some of my tools are stronger than other people because I've sharpened them. I've sharpened my resiliency. I've sharpened my grit. I've sharpened my discipline. I know how to be hungry. I know how to be so hungry that I'll do anything to win. People don't have that when they're coddled their whole life. Like, right? They don't have that. Like, my husband and I don't have the same grit. We don't have the same fire because he didn't need it. He doesn't have, like, so it's not a fault. So I had to use my talents, which are like, you know, PhD in street cred. Full of hard knocks PhD, right? And then also humble myself to say, now, how can anyone help me? I need help. And I think that's what I want people to hear, is that you're not going to do it by yourself. I didn't do this by myself. I would never be here by myself. This is a miracle of collaboration. Like, sitting at the therapist's office and crying and being like, this is dumb. What are you guys doing? Why are we still talking? I don't want to talk about my feelings anymore. This is ridiculous. How is this helpful? Okay, fine. I'll stick to it. I'll stick to it. I'll stick to it. Working 3 jobs so I can afford that. Or, like, humbling myself. Okay, fine. I'll be a waitress. I'll do whatever. I'll clean floors. I don't care. I'll do anything. I'll do anything to be upright. And so I used what I had, my talents, which came from hardship, and applied them to what I really wanted, which was to be healthy and successful and happy.
Yeah.
Peaceful in my brain. So therapy, coaching.
Such a great example too. I think it came for you where it really was about ownership of yourself. Like, you took full on responsibility of what you wanted, where you were, and you were willing to do whatever was necessary, like say to get the help and to move forward. But I think it's that level of ownership and self-responsibility is really admirable. Like, it's like, yeah.
So I think the thing that I try to explain to people is, you are not responsible for the things that people do to you.
Yeah.
Especially when you're under 18. None of that is your fault. Nothing. I don't care how crappy of a kid you were, or how lippy you were, or, you know, how lazy you were. You don't deserve anything but the utmost love and support and encouragement. That's what children need. All of them. I don't care if they're teenagers who think they know everything or whatever. You deserve to be raised well and healthy and loved an infinite amount. And if most of us probably don't get that, right? You look at the world for 5 seconds and you're horrified at what happens to children. And there comes a place where you have to understand that after your birthday, when you turn 18, and I remember that birthday very specially because I was like amazed that I got there, really and truly. Every day was a miracle of survival, and I sometimes didn't know I was going to make it. So turn 18 and I thought, okay, babe, this is fucking magic. Like, and I remember being like, look at my face in the mirror. Like, I remember I was like, oh my God, like, we are here. Because you're an orphan and you're in a system where people control you. There's nothing more like, the best feeling in the world is at 18 where you're like, what? Like, now I will show me how it's done. Because the whole time I was in the system, I was like, oh, when I'm an adult, this is never gonna happen. When I'm an adult, I'm always gonna pay my bills on time. I'm always gonna do this. I'm always gonna be good with whatever, right? And so when I finally got there, I was like, it's showtime. And then I realized I had none of the tools. I am really eager and I don't have the language. I don't know what to do. And so I realized I was being a victim and saying I deserved those things, like that greatness. I felt like I deserved it because I'd suffered so long.
Yeah.
Instead, it was like, someone robbed your house and now you have to clean it up. You do not wait for the robber to come and clean it up. But it's ludicrous, right? But people do that in life when they get traumatized or when they get abused or when they get taken advantage. You think, it's not my fault. You did that. You're a terrible person. And so I'm going to harumph over here and be like, you suck and you need to say sorry. And I, beg for my forgiveness. Great. No one's doing that. No one's coming. It's kind of a negative thing to say because all of these like really self-help, a lot of people are like super rah kumbaya and like they never talk about the bad stuff. And that doesn't work for people like me. I can't write gratitude lists and then wake up and be successful. That doesn't work for me. It's one of many things I do. Right. And so it was like, you have to pick up your crap that other people threw at you and clean it up. And that's the humility.
Exactly. So good. So good. And so with the people that you work with, and really I think for anyone listening, because I think these things can show up either like you see really large examples of it, and then there's the subtleties that run where we're not even aware of these kind of wounds that we're carrying forward with us. Mm-hmm. And I think this is where it often shows up in when we're making like lots of judgments, or we're not really moving forward, or we have a lot of this negative self-talk and really harsh self-criticism of ourselves. And sometimes these things are running and we don't, I think, at an unconscious level. And so, like you say, first we have to be willing to go, hey, what is going on here? What am I willing to look at within myself?
Right.
To, like you say, clean up my shit, move myself forward to get, let's just say, this business going in this case or whatever, because I do believe that entrepreneurship is one of the greatest tools where your stuff is going to come up. Like,
it's like naked. You're saying,
oh,
I believe in myself so much. And we come from a place like this world is very I don't think the world means to be, because they come across this society as anti-self-esteem. And I think that's something that people don't understand. They're so worried. Most people I talk to, they're so worried they're going to come across as boastful or arrogant. And it's this, maybe it's Canadian. I don't know. Like, we're so nice that we can't let people know we're awesome. But for someone who grew up without any self-esteem or without a lot of encouragement, I had to be pretty proud of myself and pretty believe in myself a whole lot to be able to jump out and be like, hi, buy this from me, hear what I have to say, read my book, let me come to your house in my shoes. Like, I had to be, so I really started to think maybe you should be full of yourself, because I was so full of everyone else. I was full of everyone else's negative comments. I was full of everyone else's, like, I got told I was stupid, that I would never be anything, that I was not a leader, that I was a follower, that like all these things that I used to believe. I was like, oh my God, like I'm a follower? That sounds awful. I don't be a follower. I always wanted to be a leader. And I thought, and then when I grew up and entered the real world, I was like, no, you're not. You're always a champion of other people. You're always helping the underdog. You're always starting the thing and doing it first. That's what leading is. You show how people, like, I'll roll up my sleeves. I don't have any, pride in that way that I'm not going to be like you. Like, I'll do it, whatever it takes. And that's what I asked myself. It was like, man, what are you willing to do? And that's why I still ask myself for any venture. There's a lot of things I want to do, but I'm not willing to do what it takes.
Yeah.
And writing's not one of them. I'm willing to do what it takes. Being a coach, I'm willing to do what it takes. Running my shoe company, I was willing to do what it took.
Such a great question. And I think really being honest with yourself when you answer that question.
Yeah. Right. It's like people who, want to get healthy, whatever that looks like to them. And they have different goals and they think, oh, okay, I always talk to them, I gotta lose, like, it's always the biggest goal in the world. Like, you're just like, oh my God, like, why would you torture yourself? Because what it's going to take to get to that weird, like, wild goal, which is fine, but you're giving yourself such a short amount of time that what it's going to take is going to be so intense that you're probably going to lose a whole lot of other good stuff that you weren't really willing to sacrifice. And that's what happens when people become unhealthy. Like, I start coaching people and they expect some of them to, like, I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week. And then I'm going to, like, do this. And I'm like, just chill out, man. Like, first of all, can you get your ass to the gym once a week? Can you try? See if that works. Drink one smoothie. Okay. Like, let's just see if you like fucking smoothies. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's just chill before you go and buy a kale farm. Like, chill out. Okay? And people need to understand, like, you don't just jump and do it that day. I didn't wake up one day and I was like, here's all my money and I'm going to just have shoes and I don't know what I'm going to do. No, I had to work through my shit for 2 years, right? To write my book, 3.5 years. Now the writing part, 6 months. The 3-year part, trying to get over how sad I was, how broken I was, how like unforgiving I was. All my garbage every day sat there in front of me on the computer, writing about being raped, writing about the person who beat me, writing about getting punched in the face, writing like, oh my God, new level of depression, new level of sadness, new level of shame. Like, and then to be like, here's my pretty package, yeah, enjoy. Finally, when I got to that part, I was like, get that book away from me. I'm so happy, but I never have to read it again. Like, now I'm better. Like, I'm like, okay, now I'm happy with my book. But at the time I was like, get these stories away from me. I am done with that. You can have them. Give it to the world. Give all your pain and all of your hardship and all of the things you had to work hard on and give it back to the world and show the world what you're missing the most. And for me, it's being seen, being loved, being encouraged. I want to be that person for you. That's what I'm going to do, because not enough people do that.
Agreed. So what is step one for someone? So for someone watching that I think is feeling probably a lot of the things that you shared, and, with wanting to step into their business and they're deciding that, okay, I really want this, and this internal stuff is coming up. Yeah. What's step one?
Willingness. Because no one's going to drag you. I don't drag you. I don't want, if you come to me and you don't know, you're not willing, I don't have time for you.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. It's not because I don't love you, don't have time for you, because I don't care. No, it's not going to work. You will not drag someone anywhere. We're walking together. If you tell me like, I don't know how to do that. This is what I love. People come to me and they're like, here's my book of dreams. Listen, lady, here's the shit I want. Here. It's like, I want to have a happy relationship. I want to love my body. I want to, whatever it is. I want to own a business. I want to be rich. Okay, cool. Come with me with the dreams. We're going to talk about what it takes to get there. You're going to say what you have, the tools in your bag. You have this tool? No. Okay, cool. We're going to work on that. We'll write that down. What are you missing? You don't know how, if you're not a disciplined person, if you can't make your own appointments, you're going to need to learn about discipline. And that might look like working out. And that might look like changing your habits. And that might look like saving money. And you might not understand how those things correlate to the other stuff you're talking about. Right? And so you have to trust who you're asking for help. So ask someone for help that you admire, that you really like, that works for you, like a therapist. If you don't like them, I fired all kinds of therapists. I don't like you. I don't feel good in your chair. It feels judgy or weird. You're not helpful. I don't like you. I'm not giving you my money. So find people that resonate with you. Now, that doesn't mean that they always say what you like, because there are a lot of people that I like that pissed me off.
Yeah.
Helped me. Okay. That's different. I always tell my clients, like, if I'm not pissing you off once in a while, you are not getting the right Iman.
Yeah.
Not doing you justice, because I'm going to ask you to look at yourself in a way that might be annoying.
Exactly. And that is the hard part, right? Really looking at ourselves and being honest with that. And I think it's such a gift to have someone that can go, yeah, I'm not sure you're really looking at yourself right there.
Right.
And it's then that's that trusting, like you say, when someone is asking you that question because they care about you.
Yes.
And when it's just, you're like, yeah, this vibe doesn't feel so good.
Right. Judgment is not caring, right?
Exactly.
So I don't have an agenda other than to fight for you however you told me to fight for you. So I always tell people, you come to me with these dreams, and I'm a bulldog. So I'm the kind of person that's going to grab those dreams by the ankles, and I'm not going to let you forget them until you tell me to let go. If you tell me you change your mind, we'll move on. But if you tell me like, man, I want to, whatever it is, I want to write my book. Okay, great. So here's what we need to do to write the book. For me, I had to forgive a ridiculous amount of human beings. I had to like put up money that I didn't have. So I had to do a GoFundMe. I had to raise funds. I had to be humble enough. It was so, for someone who doesn't ask for help, which a lot of survivors don't ask for help. They just muscle through things. And we're so proud to ask for help because it means we're losing for some reason. And so for me to ask for money for a GoFundMe was like, it was either that or I didn't get to have the book. Because as I was starting to publish my book, I got pregnant. And I was like, oh my gosh. So all of my funds were going to this new beautiful human. And so I couldn't be that person that was like, me first, you know, as a mom, like, you're like, okay, like, So I had to be humble, and I had to trust, again, like we said earlier, that people were going to believe in me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I started a GoFundMe, and I was refreshing it like every 3 seconds. And I was telling my husband, like, nobody gave me any money yet. He's like, it's literally been 10 minutes. Like, you need to chill out and let people have time. I went to bed and I woke up with $5,000. And I was like, okay, people love it. Like, this is awesome, right? So you have to be willing. Then you have to be so humble and take inventory. Take inventory of where you're at, truly, okay? Because I talk to people, they're like half telling the truth. Are you in financial disarray? Are you physically not where you want to be? And I don't mean like, listen, we have the room in this world for all kind of beautiful people. Everyone's body is gorgeous however you think it should be. But you're allowed to have a goal. You're allowed to say, I don't feel good. I don't eat as well as I should. It doesn't make me feel good, right? Like, there's a lot of food that I'm allergic to that I eat sometimes, and I know I'm doing it on purpose, right? I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get hives, but this shit's good. Like, I'm allergic to chocolate. Like, you know how awful that is? Like, but once in a while, I'm like, I'm gonna suffer. But throughout most of the time, you gotta take care of yourself. So you take inventory on where you're at. Are you, go online and take the ACEs score to see where you are emotionally in regards to your trauma. Have you suffered a lot of trauma? A lot of people are running around muscling through it. They're like, yeah, but I'm over it now. That's the past. And now I'm in the future. And this is good. And I'm like, you are still crippled by that. Just own it. What's the harm if you think you're so over it to go and evaluate it and just to see how over it you are? Stop avoiding the things that are keeping you back. It's like carrying bricks and you're wondering why you're not getting places as fast as other people, but you are holding on to so much baggage. So your willingness, then you take inventory, then you take action. This is the part where people shit their pants and they stall and they make excuses and oh, well, because I was tired, I didn't get to the class, and because of the bills. And again, how bad do you want it? How much, what are you willing to do? Because if you tell me at the beginning I'm willing to do anything, then we're going to do anything.
Yeah.
Within your value system, right?
Yes, of course.
Within your value system. And you have to know what your values are. You know how people are walking around, they don't even know what their values are?
Oh, I do.
Like, people will tell me, I'll talk to them and I'll be like, so what's your value? And family. I'm like, oh, really? That's weird, because it doesn't seem like that the way you act. And they're like, excuse me, I love my family above everything. I'm like, no, I believe you love them. I'm just saying, in your everyday decisions, you do not put your family first.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It's not an insult, it's an observation. If you do not agree with it, fine, but take inventory of that and let me know where you're coming up with your evidence, because I'm a big fan of evidence. Show me where it is. Show me the receipt of that thing. I want to see it. Don't just tell me this. That's what I mean about the kumbaya bypassing. Like, yeah, just visualize it. Like, I used to take money courses from people, like, always want, like, get my money right. And they're like, just imagine what it feels like to be rich. Imagine. I'm like, oh, fuck. How would you imagine shit you never had? Does that even make sense? Like, are you going to tell a broke person just to imagine being a millionaire? They don't know what that feels like.
Yeah, and then it's just going to show up.
And then they're going to manifest it?
Yeah.
Wow. If that were true, would we not all be walking around rich as hell? Like, so stuff like that. Or like, you're telling people who are suffering from severe trauma, like our First Nations people suffering severe trauma, like generationally. And we tell them just to, like, come on, rah, rah, let's do it. You girl, got it, girl. And you're like, is anyone going to address the elephant in the room?
Exactly.
Like, are you going to talk about how generationally they've been suffering and they do not have some of the tools that you have, which you are standing there saying how easy it is to do that? How about no?
Exactly.
Right? So
exactly.
Of yourself. I have a lot of greatness about me, great privileges of my life, but there's a lot of stuff that I'm sure nobody would trade for me, right? So I had to say, okay, you come from a terrifyingly broken home. Like, you're the daughter of someone who murdered someone. I lost my mother. I lost my father, even though he, like, you don't look at him with reverence now, but it still was your father at the time. You're a little girl. You lose your family, you lose your friends. I went to 10 schools in 12 years. Like, I didn't have stability. I don't have a lot of stuff from my childhood because I moved so much and was moved around. So I'm looking at myself when I'm 24, 25 thinking, honey, it's going fast. If you don't get on this mission, when are you going to do it?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're going to be proud and pretend that everything's fine, which is what I was doing. I was like, everything's great. Yeah. I can get the job. I can, like, you can give people direction. They can go to school. They can get the job. There are many people, millions of people right now that come home every day and are miserable because they're not doing what they want. They just follow the checklist of instructions of how to be happy, but they're not genuinely happy. They don't really feel proud of themselves. They're not really making a difference, and they know it.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't really have that life that they really, really, really want. Right. They're going through the motions every day.
And why not? Like, why aren't you? You know, there's this unspoken myth that you don't get what you want. You gotta grind, you gotta work 9 to 5, and you can't. And if that's your thing, that's great. There's lots of amazing careers out there. I know lots of people that are happy working. You know, you don't have to be an entrepreneur. It's certainly not for everyone. It's absolutely frightening in its own way. But why can't you move closer to what you want? Where are we telling people that? Like, why are we saying, you know, when kids are kids, we say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And we leave it open. We're not like, which 3 of these things do you want to be when you grow up? We say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they say the most ludicrous things, whatever it is. I want to be a ballerina. I want to be a fireman. I want to be an astronaut. Okay, cool. And we're like, yay. And then they turn 18 and we're like, so here's the real deal. You are not that smart or whatever. You're not that talented. You're not that lucky. Get real. And we tell people to get real. And I think that's great. I'm a big fan of reality to a point, but we should probably be more encouraging to be a little wilder. And that's what I do in my work is like, let's get ridiculous. Like, what ridiculous thing? And 99.9% of the time, people say something that's not that ridiculous at all. Exactly. Oh, I want to write a book. I want to own my own company. I really want to go on a cruise, or, you know, I want to live in France. Those are not ridiculous things. Those are totally accomplishable goals. Like, who the hell told you you can't write a book in a cafe in France? Like, what kind of asshole did that to you?
Exactly. Well, and then it comes down, now this is what that would look like. Are you willing to do it?
You got to live in France. Are you willing to pack your shit up and go? Are you willing to do that? Because maybe you think you want it, but you just want to want it.
Exactly. So good.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions, Patty? As usual, I tend to dominate the entire interview.
I'm just taking a ton of notes and just drinking this all in. I'm just feeling incredibly grateful for what you're sharing. Amazing, valuable stuff. Everybody needs to see this interview. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh. Yes, I agree. I'm going to check our chat because I'm noticing the time too. Wow, such a great message. Thank you so much for that. That your sharing is so inspiring. I can be so related to what you mentioned regarding self-esteem. I was told I will never be successful in business by my mom.
Right.
Yeah.
These are the people that you expect to cheer you on. And I think that's something that's really important. Thank you for that, Lucy, because you do not have to wait for your family to cheer you on to do anything. Like, these are not always your people in regards to who you're going to be or what you're going to be. Really and truly, and this sounds maybe like a bit metaphysical, but like, you have a purpose here that is beyond anyone else you're going to meet to tell you that you can do it. They don't need to tell you. And I think, again, as someone who was so insecure, I mean, my life was crazy. So I was very insecure. It was always changing. I was very, I never fit in. I was never, like, I went to like mostly white schools, and I looked like an alien, and I had really bad hair because the white people would always cut it all really bad. Like, I didn't know how to do my fro. So like, I'd have like these really weird, like tiny afros I didn't like. And I always was the alien. I was this scrawny little thing with big eyes and big lips, and I got made fun of all the time. And I did not feel gorgeous and powerful and like, you know, so I want people to know that when they hear this message, that I was not like, I had to work really hard to be allowing myself to be happy, to be accepting of who I am and what I look like and my crazy hair and my big eyeballs, and work on my body image. And I couldn't even dress some mornings I would literally have so much anxiety that I would be driving to work, you guys, and I would turn around and go home and change because I was so insecure of what I chose to wear and people were going to make fun of me. And it just like was excruciating as an adult, 20 something, 28 years old, driving home because I'm still sure at the office they're going to say something because everyone always says something. And so you can't look at other people for your cheerleading until you meet your team. And I'm telling you, your team is always cheering for you. That's how you know they're your team. Even when you're an absolute mess, when you're screwing up, they look at you and they say, babe, you sucked at that. However, here's what you got to learn. Here's where you're going to get up. And I'm going to drag you up when you're done pouting about losing. And they admit to you all the things that you already know in your heart. And that's why there's a dissonance between the people who are shitting on you because you know that's not right. You don't feel that way. But like I had a dream to have a shoe company and everyone would tell me it was bad. And I was like, but I don't know. Like, I feel like it's good. Like, why would I have an idea that I can't execute? Like, exactly. I've seen some cruelty in this world. Really, I have. But one thing I have never seen is the fact that you can have an idea that you can't execute. You can execute every idea that comes to your head. That is like one thing that is universal.
That is so true. That is so, so, so true.
So if you can come up with the idea, there is a way that only you can do it your way. Yes. And like, I'm talking, I know the world's cruel. Don't get me wrong. I'm not living in a bubble. I know, I get it. I've had everything robbed from me, everything. Like the world is a shitty ass place sometimes. But one thing I've never seen proven wrong is that you can not have an idea that you can execute. You can execute everything. You have the tools, you learn the tools, you ask for help, Because when you get somewhere, all you want to do is show other people how to do it. It's like your thing. You're like, oh my God, did you guys know? Like, look how, and in Canada, what do we do when someone compliments your clothes? What's the first thing we do? We say, I got it for $8. And you tell people where you got it from and you tell them how much it is. It's like the weirdest tradition thing that we do. We're like culturally strange. All we want to do is help someone else to get the same thing.
It's so true.
That's all we do. We're like, oh, I love you're like Walmart. You're like IKEA. Like you keep screaming things. You're like, okay, relax. I don't want one. I'm just saying it was good. But when you get a life tip, when you learn how to heal your shit, when you learn how to budget, when you learn how to get other people to help them, tell them how you did it.
Yes. Keep lifting other people up.
There's enough for everyone. You just have to be willing to get it.
Exactly.
Not waiting for permission because people like me don't get permission. They don't. They're like, and I help other women understand, like, no one's inviting you to the table. You have to literally get the tree, cut it down, build the motherfucker yourself, and sit at the table and invite other people to your table.
Exactly.
Like, that's how you get there. If I'm not aggressively after my dreams, no one ever really gives them to me.
It's so true. So true. Thank you so much for being here with us today. You shared, like I said, I love your Imanisms. They're like my favorite thing on social media. Like those truth bombs are like, that's what I'm talking about. So I'll post where people can follow you, connect with you, work with you, all of those things, because like I say, from the day I met you, I've known you are an amazing, incredibly awesome human being. Like, you need to be one of those people that just continues to share your message and speak, and people, need to find you because you do incredible stuff in the world.
Thank you so much, Georgie. That's amazing. We connected instantly. I met this woman. I was like, I love you. You're my people. And we just like hung out every day for this workshop we were in. And totally. Like, okay, forever, soul sister, friend for life. That's it.
Exactly.
Your story is so inspiring too. I remember you telling me, like that's my people.
It's my people.
Fighter. Right? Yeah.
So good. So
thanks,
good.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for everyone the comments are kind of blowing up right now. So
yeah. So good. So good. So yes, we will definitely share this. We will, for those that aren't on Facebook and that, we will definitely put in how you can connect. We'll repost this one because this is definitely, I think, one to rewatch probably a few times because you've shared so much amazing wisdom. And it's going to be the perfect one for when you're feeling like you can't do it. You need to come back and watch this.
Awesome.
So, yeah. All right, so I could keep going, but I'm wary of the time. Let's not say that. Yeah, I'm just watching the time. So we will be back on Wednesday, and Patty's sharing something on Wednesday.
Yeah, it'd be something about messaging and copywriting.
Yeah.
Less inspiring, just practical, I suppose.
Yeah.
So important.
Excellent.
Yes.
Then we will see everybody Wednesday.
All right. Same bad time.
Same bad channel.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye. Turn on my offs here. Stop.